Alrighty guys, today we have a very simple video. Should PSA be authenticating autographs that look like this? Now, I'm going to clarify my thoughts throughout this video on why I think they shouldn't and why it's a little bit of a slippery slope, but I want to hear what your thoughts are down in the comments below, because a lot of the commentary that I've sort of seen online on some of the forums that have referenced this image in particular have indicated that PSA has done nothing wrong here. Now, this was brought to my attention via Tiffany Cards. We've referenced them a crap ton on this channel. They do the Lord's work essentially when it comes to holding accountability within this industry when it comes to fake cards, altered cards, trim cards, and the like. And they highlighted that this Chipper Jones from 1991 Topps Tiffany has a smudged auto and raised the question, does PSA essentially smear their own brand, pun intended, by authenticating autographs that look like this? Now, some of you guys might be asking the question, what is the big deal? I'll get to that now, basically. I don't know, I was going to say get to that shortly, but like you can sort of see over here, the autograph has very clearly been smudged in some capacity. It's probably been in a top loader that, didn't have a sleeve, because you can sort of see some scratching on the autograph. It looks like maybe there was a fingerprint there or somebody tried to wipe it down. Who the heck knows? But it's a bit of a, slippery slope for the reason that Tiffany Cards explained later on within his tweet itself. Somebody sort of said, well, what is the big deal? What are they supposed to do here? They've authenticated the order. They've not given it a grade. But like Tiffany Cards does say, because they've not witnessed the autograph themselves, who's to say that somebody hasn't altered this? And who's to say, that the trick or the approach people might take down the line is that they can sort of forge, a really easy part of the autograph, let's say Michael Jordan, and they can do the M really well, but then they can't really do the rest. So what they do is they sort of write the rest themselves, and they'll intentionally smudge it to make it look like a half-baked order, and that maybe makes it easier to get that thing authenticated, which then makes it easier for PSA to go ahead and authenticate it and grade it. And obviously that's a bit of an extreme situation, but when you look at the avenues that people have gone down in the last couple of years about trying to sort of, circumvent processes and take advantage of graders and their incompetence and take advantage of manufacturers and take advantage of these third-party authenticators like BBCE, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. And obviously people are trying to find every avenue they can, especially in the current economic environment, to get every edge that they can. So something like this, I think, is a bit of a no-no. I don't think PSA should be doing it for those reasons, because eventually somebody's maybe going to clue onto that fact and try and do something dodgy. And obviously you guys might say, well, what is the big deal? This might be an edge case. This might be one of a million kind of thing to happen. It's not actually going to happen, but I'd rather make that 1 in a million zero, right? Because PSA could easily say, hey, the autograph is smudged, we're not going to touch it. And that might impact them when it comes to manufacturer produced orders. But again, like I've said in the past, PSA don't authenticate those unless you as the customer want that authenticated, because PSA will see on the back of the card itself was authenticated by Panini or by Topps, and that's where their authentication stops. They see that, they say the autograph is genuine, and they move on, right? They don't look at the autograph at all. So in cases like this, where they are in fact looking at the autographs, it's very easy for them to say no, and that removes all the risk to them as a business, because fundamentally the biggest risk is going to be that somebody does something dodgy and they say a card is authentic when it is in fact not. And that's a bit of a slippery slope for them to enter in as a company, and I wouldn't expect them to sort of be happy about that. Now, like I said earlier, I mentioned that this is probably a bit of an edge case, because how often does something like this come up? So maybe they've not really thought about it, but I would expect PSA to maybe act and try and fix this from happening in the future, or fix it from becoming a pretty big problem and pretty systemic problem. And obviously it's a very cheap card. In this case, it's a $200 card, not very cheap, but not overly expensive like an MJ or anything like that. But one of those ones that I want to hear your thoughts on down below. Do you think PSA should be doing that? Like I said, I personally don't, but I want to hear what your thoughts are down below. You've got, people these days that are looking for that edge, looking to take advantage. And I just think these companies need to do more to sort of, tighten up the shop, right? Make sure that, if people want to go ahead and try and scam them, if people want to go ahead and try and rip them off, they actually have to work for it. And, I'm not saying somebody's done anything dodgy with this particular instance, but I think you guys get where I'm going, right? Make people work for it if they want to take advantage of you. Make people work for it if they want to, rip you off, right? If you make it easy for them and you give them avenues to try and rort the system, then, that's what they're going to go ahead and try and do. And we've seen examples like that, in recent years with PSA and, them labeling, fake cards with genuine sticker autos on them, right? People make fake cards, they take a sticker off a Panini card, they stick it on there, and then PSA will go ahead and authenticate it. And it just confuses people to make them think that the card is in fact genuine. I think I've got some videos on my channel. You can look up Steph Curry fake rookies in my search bar and you'll see what I'm talking about. PSA have since stopped that. They don't do that anymore. And they make it painfully obvious to customers that that kind of thing, you know, is not a genuine card. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let me know your thoughts down below. I just think this is a bit dangerous and one that I hope they, you know, try and improve. So that's sort of it for today. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, I've been a bit AWOL lately. I've been pretty sick and pretty focused on work. So, you know, if there's anything that you think I need to catch up on, I've not replied to your comments. I do apologize. But if there's anything you want me to catch up on, shoot me a DM on Instagram and I'll follow up on those stories, because it's been a while since I've called out a scammer in particular. So if you have any stories on that, I'm more than happy to do it. So, yeah, as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.